Hello everybody, welcome back. We're going to be doing another tutorial guide on how to play basically Vi. So Vi, interesting things to note out of the gate. You usually want to start W. You basically want to reactivate your passive and like that'll reduce the armor of like the first buff you'll usually go for. Usually want to leash. And if you can reduce the like the total armor of the buff and then have the other people doing leash help you with it, it just you kill it faster. And so then you usually run up here, put your 45-second ward, and then you get your back in. So I'll just go through the motions and show like what I usually do. So bam, get the back, and then just kind of have your sweeper ready, and then just always be ready like on the escape key if someone tries to fight you for it. So by that, run on over here. So the abilities Q is like you charge it up and you can walk as you charge it, and then you basically punch forward, does a knock up stun, and applies an like one of the passive marks of the W. And then W, every third attack, you deal a bunch of physical damage and you remove their armor from them. So definitely good, scales into the game. And then your E does like an AoE, like it punches extra hard and then does an AoE punch in front. So it's kind of a cone effect. So the runes that you want to go for is Hail Blades. You want to get quick 3 hits to definitely just keep maxing out your W damage. And then your next thing is Sudden Impact because you're doing that Q forward. It's considered a dash. The Eyeball Collection, you usually can kind of accrue some early game value. So to get a fast clear, usually have like someone to help you. But your Q, you kind of charge that, you run through, gets you faster over to blue. You pop this, hop over, you hit it a few times. Then right as it's about to hit you, you throw your stun out because then kind of interrupts the timing of its attack and it gives you a shield. So then every 3 attacks or every single time you proc this W and then use an ability, it gives you a big fat shield. So that's pretty nice and snazzy. But usually you're a lot healthier on this clear. But so we'll smite, bring it forward. We definitely want to stop those early attacks because they do a bunch of extra damage to you. Gromp does. So usually you finish this clear around like 232, so a little bit slower than Warwick. But now you have level 3, and you now have like your 3 options of go top, harass, go for their red, or then go mid. So those are your big 3, and then you have your sweeper, and you can go kind of check around that. Um, so like that is kind of like if you want to play like a really aggressive style of Vi. Like the other style that you can play is like for the runes, you go Aftershock, you go like Shield Bash, and then you go Bone Plating, and then what's the last one? Last one is like Overgrowth, or you can go like Unflinching or like some of the other things. So for Vi, you just kind of like want to like charge up your stacks, then you want to get your third with like an ability, because that's based on like when the armor is like reduced. That's like a big key thing you have to look out for. But the big CC combo, I'll just kind of like level up myself to like a few levels. There's like a few combos you can really do with Vi. So you want to just level up your abilities W, Q, E, and then you want to max out Q next. So coming up to Vigar here, uh, like your big thing is you want to hit him through that. Oh, okay. Sorry, that was bad shine. 3. Let me redo that one. So basically, you want to like either like come at him, hit him a few times, and then like when he tries to get away, you just ultimate through that. But let's just like bring in a new champion. So
Well, that actually answers the first question I was gonna have. Was a lot of champions don't get stopped by Vygar's wall. They'll still get stunned, but they'll go through it.
yeah,
So that answers that question. You do in fact get your dash does in fact get stopped short by
yes.
a Vygar wall.
So the other thing is let's throw out another Vigar. Where how do I?
I believe your ult doesn't though,
Oh,
right?
I need
That makes you
a
unstoppable.
yeah. My ult makes me unstoppable. So it's definitely kind of like Warwick, with his like Q and his ultimate. It gives you that unstoppable. So let's
So
just
then If
Let's just
Vygar threw
Tines.
his baby cage around you, would it then be better to engage with your ult instead of waiting for it to disappear and then trying to Q to him and then ulting when he gets away? Instead, you ult through the baby cage,
Yes, correct.
knock him up, and then you
So
Q as
like
he's running.
I'll show an example of it here. So I'll sit around until he throws out a baby cage, and then I'll ult on top of him. So let's put that away. So let's walk at him, and then all right, baby cage. I just go right through the baby cage, and then I like with your Q, it punches people back. Like it pushes them like physically backwards. So you are through and you go behind them, and then you come through and you punch them to like the rest of your team. So that's kind of like really how you play like Vi effectively. You just are through all of that CC. So like let's just say for example like Vigar's right here, and then like it has other teammates around, and I just point and click Vigar. I will just like slide through the entire team. I'll go to the far side of Vigar, but then I push the other teammates like away from him, and I will I will stun them for like a brief period of time, but it'll go through any CC, so it's definitely nice and snazzy. It can only be stopped by very few things, like let's just say Bard ult, and like I'm going through and I'm about to go to Vigar, and then like Bard ult goes right there. I believe that does stop me. That's like one of the very few things.
It should, yeah, it's a stasis.
Yep. Like it is a form of CC, but that's like one of the few forms of CC. So, bam.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean QSS doesn't get rid of Bard ult.
yeah. So,
Actually, now that I think about it, I think I have seen Olaf ult a Bard ult.
hmm.
Unstoppable might actually protect you from Bard ult. I'm
I will
curious
have
about
to.
that. I'm gonna
I'll
look it
have to
up
do
now.
some playtesting, yeah, on that one. All right. So your general build that you want to go with, like Vi, um, I definitely like one of my first backs. I really like to get boots, and I like to get blue smite. Blue smite just is always good for just like slowing people down. You want to slow people down because you can get off more of your autos, more of your autos, more of your passive, more of your passive. The more you can just keep getting the shield up, and the more you get the shield up, the more like shield, the passive. Whenever you use an ability, you get a shield. And if you get three autos off on someone, this cooldown timer on your passive is reduced by 3 seconds. So if you can keep getting autos off, you keep getting your passive online, and then you keep giving yourself shields, and then you just get really kind of tanky, and you're kind of a bruiser, and you can kind of kick some ass. So if
So
you
who do you want to focus in team fights? Because you could just ult the squishy, but the other thing is you have the ability to remove people's armor. So would that be better used on a tank or a bruiser than on say a bot laner?
Um, like that greatly varies. So hmm, let's think of a scenario.
Go for
So,
whoever's fed.
a lot of times it is just go for who's ever fed, because if you kind of look at like the CC times of like what I have. So I kind of begin the charging slow, but then I knock them back and I stun them for like I believe it's like 1.5 seconds or something like that. But then her ultimate kind of like knocks them up for the 1.25 seconds. So that right there is almost 3 seconds of a stun. And in League, it's all about just being fast, being concise with your skill shots. And if I'm stunning someone for 3 seconds and they don't really move that much, I understand there's that small displacement with the Q, but most people can land their skill shots when you're just absolutely just pounding their teammate. So getting that fed person, definitely a good play. But then sometimes it is like the back in their back line, there's like a Morgana that's throwing out a root, and you know it's about to like hit a teammate. You can just like R through that, and then you can kind of knock up their whole team if they're in like a tight area. But for the
Hmm.
most part, a lot of people don't leave their lanes until like 15 minutes. There's of course special exemptions to that, like you have Quinn, you have Talon, you have Zed, those really speedy people that can like rotate around the map, get those kills. And like when it comes to that, then like you aren't really just going like you're ganking in your traditional lanes. It's not your 1v1s where then you just kind of upset the laner by coming in there and then making sure they have a bad day. When it gets more of the team fight, that's when you try to like kind of like come from your flanks because this cooldown on this ability is up pretty often because your build with like with Vi is really CD oriented. So you definitely want to go your Trinity Force. So actually, just let me give myself absolutely max gold. How do we do that again? There we go.
I'm curious, is there any world in which you go Black Cleaver on Vi?
Yes. So that is like some things that like some people contest. That is the difference between like going the Hail of Blades sort of eye versus the Aftershock. Aftershock, I am a firm believer that you definitely want to go Black Cleaver instead of Triforce. Um, you like because Trinity Force puts out more of that burst damage, and that burst damage with Hail Blades is absolutely what you're looking for. So you come in, you pop someone, you just destroy them out of the team fight. But by the way, you want to go Warrior Predator, uh, uh, Warrior Enchantment, just because it gives you that 10% CDR. So that's definitely nice. Sorry, CDR is cooldown reduction, just to clarify. But Trinity Force allows you to get that pop with the the Spellblade passive, and also you get the movement speed after that. So you come in, you blow someone up, you have a higher chance of running out of the fight. So that's also nice in that sense. You could definitely, depending on the game, you decide like what boots you want. You're totally fine with either or. Um, like in this sense, they have a Vigar, say they have a Morgana, all those really CC heavy champs. You definitely want to go the Merc Treads, but if they had like a Samira or like people who just have a lot of those autos, definitely go Tabbies. But then from here, you can definitely go Sterix Gauge if you want. I believe Sterix Gauge is kind of fallen off in the current meta. Like I think it's definitely has its uses, but I think like Death Stance is an amazing item. Because like right now, if you look, I'm at 30% CDR with Blue Warrior and with Triforce. When you come over to Death Stance, that gives you the extra 10% like CDR that you need, and like Sterix Gauge kind of really doesn't have that. And of course, you have your 40% cap on your CD, so I think Death Stance is really good. Plus, if you go in there, one of the bigger problems of like playing Burst Vi is you're somewhat of a glass cannon, even though you're kind of getting those shields. And kind of a way to mitigate just getting shattered is just to have Death Stance, because you just waylay that burst damage by like 30% of that burst damage for a period of time, like with the bleed effect. And so you definitely have a longer period of time where you can get in there, actually activate your shield to take up some of that bleed damage that was like stored up, and then you can get some of that lifesteal back. So I think that this Triforce into Death Stance is very good. And then from there, it's very dependent on what you want to go. Um, you don't need any more CDR items. So at this point, you can kind of, let's just say we sell that. With considering they have a Vigar or something like that, or they're very AP based, you definitely could go Bruiser build with where is it at? Wits End. Wits End is always very good. A lot of magic resist. I've always personally enjoyed that item. Oh, I'm getting in trouble for AFK. You don't really want to go the Tiamat items. Like your Tiamat, even though you use like the passive, not the active effect, that does not give you a W stack. It's not like Darius where you get your 5 stack where you can like pull auto W auto uh, and like do all that kind of stuff, and then you throw a Tiamat in there, and that gets you those 5 stacks very quickly. So like you don't really want to fall into that trap. But then for like last item, you can kind of like splash in. You don't need like Black Cleaver, but like I think that Deadman's Plate is usually pretty solid, just because you can throw in like a tanky item here. I don't think you need like a shit ton of like more burst. You definitely have the burst in this build. I think that you could throw Bork in there. That's definitely pretty suitable. But Deadman's Plate gives you that move speed. You get in there faster. You hit harder. I always enjoy that. Um, if you maybe need to stop a spell, throw in an Edge of Night. You could throw also try like the Mortal Reminders. Get rid of even more armor. You have a Ramus or like something like that with high armor. You absolutely shred through it. I personally like the Mortal Reminder more than LDR, but that's personal choice just because I like just getting rid of that healing. That's usually a pretty snazzy effect. But yeah, that's the general consensus of like the builds I like to do for Vi, while doing like this like bursty one. But you asked earlier on what do you do with like um like the Aftershock Vi. So I'll just show like the general build for that. So early on, I still go like blue boots. After that, you can go into warrior. I think in that sense, since you're really gonna be focusing on having that CD like that tankiness, you definitely want Cinder Hulk because it does damage based upon your max HP, and then you're gonna build a lot of HP oriented items. So like then we just throw in a black cleaver, boots. You can kind of flip flop. You just have to decide based on, and then from here on out, you can really just like throw in like your other tank items. So Deadman's definitely good here. Throwing your Wits End. Um, I think you want
What
more of
about
like
like a
what's up?
what about like a Titanic Hydra?
You still
If
don't
you're
want
going for more health.
you could. That does kind of help with like some of the burstiness. Like I said before, you don't get to proc your W with it.
No, it doesn't um it doesn't get let you proc your W extra. I know that.
Okay.
But it's if you still look at the passive, it's still an extra. That's a lot of damage.
Yeah. Yeah. So like you still definitely put out like output some damage because you stay on top of them. You get the aftershock proc with it, and then you get your shield bash, and then that'll do some extra damage when you activate your abilities. And then you look at it like she has a lot of health, and then you put like the actual tank runes with it, and you can usually get like 3.3 range of health versus okay. Let's look at the other build.
The other
Sorry.
thing is, looking at that amount of health you have right now, you're only at level 8. Imagine at level
Oh
15
yeah, oh yeah, yeah,
how
yeah.
much health you'd
Here,
have.
let me do that to the max. That's actually a very fair point.
Especially if you took like tank runes and you took
So,
say overgrowth.
let's go back to what I was at. So I had Deadman's and this. So I'm at 2705 at level 18 with all these items, and this is the burst build. But then you go kind of the tankier one, and let's undo all of this. So recommended. I want to go
Even in
Cinder.
the burst build, you were still pretty tanky. I mean, that was
I mean,
almost
I mean
3,000
yeah,
health.
still definitely very bruisery. What else did I have in here? I had Cinderhulk. Yeah, Titanic's not bad. Where are you at, Cinderhulk? I apologize.
I mean, you
I'm.
could type it in the search bar.
I know. I know. But that's effort. So hard. And then,
I feel so bad for you.
yeah, so bad. And then, you definitely want that Wits End.
But not as
And
bad as I feel for the enemy team. We got a Yumi who's gonna sit on Hecarim and Urf.
oh boy. And then yeah. So like even with just these 5 items, I'm sitting at way more health, and you definitely see that. Like there are definitely oh yeah, the black cleaver. So I'm at like 1,000 more health, but then if I go kill minions with like the cleaver passive, I'll definitely reach a higher tier of health. So at this point in the game, like I like Vi does like really well early just because she has that offsetting like Q. And then mid game, she does like pretty decent, but then like she still is a pretty good late game monster. She doesn't fall off like ridiculously hard like some junglers. I think she's just very good and consistent all the way throughout the game. She's not like Warwick. Warwick, I would say he's one of the best early game monsters that just obliterates a game by himself. Sorry, yeah, let's go get rid of this pesky Vigar. Bye. So basically, go blow up Vigar. But anyway, um, you are able to just really play throughout most of the game, and by dealing for like 14% of their max health, you just can blow people up, and you just rip through their armor. And I'd say Vi is a solid pick. Your definite counters, like the people who you really want to pick Vi against, are like those mage jungler or like the early junglers that don't do well, like your Yees, your like Evelyn's. Evelyn, like cries going up against Vi because you just do your early aggressive clear, you run up, and then by this point in time, Vi is usually, Evelyn is usually very low on the clear, so you just go up, you abuse the shit out of that, you just punch her and just make her super sad. So like you just kind of abuse the fact of like you need to know how junglers clear. So like I'll be making other tutorials on like how to like how most people clear, but then how to play around that so then people just don't always know the predictability of your clear. So let's just see that. Like I blew him up, he's level 14. Yes, he doesn't have items, but I'm under a tower, it's T1, and I can still just kind of blow him up with this tanky build. So definitely recommend both styles of Vi. She's a very fun champion. Like she's not the most like mechanically complex, but like if you just play her small things very well, she's just an absolutely demon in a fight, and I would definitely give her a recommend. So, uh, yeah, that's all I got. Any questions at all from player?
Not anymore, really. I mean, you pretty much answered them as we were going.
Yeah. Okay. Well, now that I succinctly cleared that up, have fun playing Vi and keep fisting.